are ready to start our IVF webinar tonight as well. And just let me briefly remind everyone that we are gathering here every single day, as you probably already know, simply because we want to support you throughout this difficult time that we are all in right now. And I know most of you are waiting for your IVF treatment to go back to continue, so that you can start your treatment or continue it. And well, I really hope we will be able to help you with some of your questions as well. And all of this, please just let me know if you can hear us properly.
I can hear you well. I hope you can hear me well. And those who have joined, I hope they can hear us.
Yes, okay. There, I can see the comments. Thank you so much for that. And just one more thing. There is, without our ambassadors and partners, those events, it simply wouldn't be possible to go ahead with them. So you can see right here all of them, and well, thanks to them, it's all possible. And tonight we have a very interesting topic indeed. And with us we have Sagar Kasiri. I hope that I spelled it correctly. Hi, how are you feeling?
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank
I'm glad we are connected, and I apologize to everyone who's been waiting.
Exactly. But we are here, it's working, so that's what matters at this point. And of course, I just wanted to say that Sagar is actually the director of European operation at Cryos International, and she will discuss the topic on sperm donation. She will be able to explain all the details connected with this topic, and of course she will be able to answer your question right after the presentation. This is being recorded, so of course you will still have a chance to check it out within the next few days. It will be uploaded on our website. And well, that would be it from me at this point. Again, huge thank you for being here with us and just waiting for us so that we can start. Okay, are you ready to begin?
Yes, and
Perfect.
I hope I have control of the slides, have I?
Yes, you can see this right at the bottom. If you do not, I will be able to help you, so don't worry. Right at the bottom there is an arrow, and you can change the slide. You can see this? Perfect. So you can go ahead and start with the presentation.
Okay, perfect. Hi everyone, my name is Sagar Kasiri, and I'm Director of European Operations for Cryos International, which is a sperm and egg bank, international sperm and egg bank. So what I will do is start with what the program will be about, and we'll take you through the program, and then we will go through the slides and answer any questions you may have at the end. Okay, thank you very much for your patience. We haven't had a chance to have a trial run, so do forgive us if there is any issues. Okay, so tonight I will discuss very quickly about Cryos International, just who we are and why I'm here discussing a sperm donation. Then we look at who actually needs sperm donors and who are our donors that are kindly giving this gift of life to our customers and patients. What is their motivation, and how do donors get screened? And how do you as customers or clinics can select the donors, sperm donors, and then what are the legal and regulatory aspects of it? And of course, very important for a lot of you would be to know how to make an order of donor sperm. Thinking about future siblings should be something that you need to bear in mind. And of course, we need to be aware of what we call a gray market. So let's start by looking at Cryos. So Cryos is an international egg and sperm bank. We've been around for over 30 years, and we deliver to more than 100 countries around the world. We're the largest sperm bank in the world. Actually, we've been in the Guinness Book of Records for having the highest number of a sperm donor base. And we have a sperm bank in Europe and an egg and a sperm bank in the US. We have the highest number of reported pregnancies in the world, and we have you have free access to all our online donor search that we have available. So probably one of the few banks that actually provide this access for free. And the reason is that our mission is to help as many people as we can to have their dreams of having a child come true. And it could be a child or children. And then we also hope that everyone can fulfill this dream, no matter regardless of their marital status, sexual orientation, or religion. So let's look at who our patients are actually, and who needs donation. So we have heterosexual couples that have got male factor infertility. Some of our customers are same-sex couples. We have single women, both from heterosexual or homosexual background. If you look at the chart here, actually our highest number of customers, or some of them aren't patient, that's why we call them customers, are actually single women who are heterosexual, 43% of them. And the next highest group is women in the same-sex relationship, and then which is 35%, and then we have heterosexual relationship couples, mainly due to male factor infertility at 18%, and 4% are single women which are homosexual. So looking at who our donors are, well, as I said, we're very grateful for them to come forward to donate. They're usually men that are around the age of 18 to 45, so within that age range. They are healthy psychologically and physically because they go through a lot of screening checks, which I can explain to you a bit later. More than 50% of them are in a relationship. Almost 50% have either graduated or are in the pursuing of their higher education. 50% of them are in full-time education, and 50% are blood donors. And that explains why, perhaps in the next slide, why they have the motivation to donate. Most of them like to help others, and quite often when we ask them, they let us know that actually they know someone in their family or friends that has actually had issues with infertility. Of course, some element of economic compensation is involved as well, but the sperm donors only get paid for their time and effort that they make, because they have to make many trips into the sperm bank for various reasons, initially for screening and then eventually for donation. So really what they get is reimbursement of their time and effort. But also some have stated that the regular checkup they get from us is a motivation that they like to come in and to donate. If we look at the process that's involved in a screening, it's actually a very robust process that we have. We are extremely selective with the potential donors that we have. Our conversion rate is only around 5 to 10% of the applicants that we get. So you can see that out of, for example, 100 applications that we get, only 5 or 10 of them make it all the way through to the donation. So it's a very robust screening process that we have. If I give you a quick run through on how we do it, first of all, they start with an online application, which is quite a lengthy one, goes into a lot of details that would give us an indication whether they can actually start a process or whether we have to, unfortunately, eliminate some of them immediately. They then have the very important test of sperm quality check. So they produce a sample, we check for the parameters of the sperm. The motility obviously is extremely important. And what we check for is not just at the beginning when they produce the sample, but we also check for post-thaw or post-warming after freezing to see how well their sample actually survives the process, because for sperm donation, they need to produce a sample. We wash it, which I'll go through it later, we purify it, and then we freeze it. Some of the samples are frozen raw, some of the samples are frozen after they've been processed. In any case, they need to be frozen. So when we actually take them out of the freezer, we have to make sure they still have a very good quality. So therefore, it is very important that we do that test. After they have qualified as being a good, having a good quality sperm of high standard, then they fill in the appropriate screening questionnaire. We look at the history of their family, both physically, mentally, at their lifestyle, and so on. And then we put them through other evaluations, other tests. For example, we look at their emotional intelligence. We look at their genetic screening. We test them for genetic screening. We test them for infectious diseases. They go through a robust process of a screening, both mentally and medically. And then eventually, when they go through all that stages and the results are come back as qualifying them for being a donor, they will receive a medical examination to make sure everything medically is fine with them. And then once they've got through all that process, they then can be accepted as a donor. And from there, the journey starts, where they need to come in for a number of times to produce samples, so we have enough samples frozen for these donors. So as explained and will be explained in more details, they do go through a very extensive screening process. Now let's have a look at how, as patients, as customers, as clinics, you can actually choose donors. So maybe the first thing we need to touch upon is what kind of donors we have. So what kind of choices you will be given on when you go to our website. Well, the main two things that separates the donors, or the main two classification, is if they are ID release donors or non-ID release donors. In other words, if they're anonymous or non-anonymous donors. And for some of you that may not know the difference, the anonymous donors, their identity will never be released to their future children. That means they will always remain anonymous, and no identified information besides their physical characteristics, and also the important information, important information about the screening would be released. So basically, very limited amount of information would be available on them. And that's usually the basic profile. So you just get a basic profile of non-ID release donors. The ID release donors, you have an option, or the child, he or she in the future, when they turn 18 years old, has an option to find out who the genetic donor was. And that they would apply by contacting Cryos and asking for that information. And the information they get is the name of the donor, the date of birth of the donor, and the address of the donor at the time of donation. So these are the two major sort of selection criteria. Then you see here we've got extended and basic profile. I'll quickly touch on the basic profile, so maybe I'll explain a little bit on the extended profile. In the extended profile, besides all the information about the screening that you will see, you can also get more information that is revealing more about the donor itself. So, for example, you will be able to have childhood photos, you can hear an audio of the donor, but of course the details of the donors with regards to being able to be contacted is not released until 18 years down the line, where the child can make that decision. However, the information you get about the extended profile is very much to familiarize the family, or the parent of the child, more information about the actual donor without identifying information. And I will go through that in a little bit more in the next slides coming up. So the choices are non-ID release, ID release, extended profile, or basic profile. One thing I must mention here, there is no right and wrong about this. We've been doing this for over 30 years, and it's always very difficult for us as a bank to say, what we actually suggest that you should go for. We cannot make that recommendation for you. It's very much choice of the parent, and very importantly to remember is where you are having the treatment, which country. Some countries only allow non-ID release donors. Some countries only allow ID release donors. And there are a few countries that can give patients the choice to choose either of those categories. So very much dependent where you're having the treatment, not where you reside specifically, because you could reside in a country but decide to have a treatment in a different country, and the regulations would be completely different in those two countries. So that is very important to bear in mind. Our extended profile donors, you will see them on our website. They have a fictitious name, and our extended profile donors will have fictitious names, and basic profile donors will have numbers attached to them. So let's just have a look at what you see when you go to the website. The good thing about the website is that it's actually, you have many filters. You can select the donors according to the filters you put in. So you can initially start by looking at whether you want a non-ID release or ID release, extended profile or basic profile. And then, of course, by the country standards, which I will explain in a little bit more details coming up. You can also choose by characteristics. And then what you see here, for example, is that you can actually download all the information about the examinations and the screening the donors had in the download PDF file that you see there. Immediately you get to know about some of the characteristics from here, but you can also make your search a little bit more special. So if we move on to the next slide, a little bit more about what you get as an extended profile. You get childhood photos, as I explained. You get Q&A from the donors, so a lot of questions we've asked to make it more personalized, so you get to know more about the actual donor, what they like, what they enjoy, how they spend their spare time, just so that it familiarizes the family choosing that donor to understand a bit more about the person that's making the donation. We also have some background history about their families and a personal letter from the donor. As explained, we have emotional intelligence information that you can actually see on the website. We also have what we call a staff impression. The donors go through the process with many staff of cryos across the way. So it can be the nurses, the donor coordinators, counselor, medics, and so on. Through that process, the staff make impression of the donor, which our customers find quite interesting to read. And then there's audio recording of the donor as well. And this is an example of what you can see when you look at, for example, in more detail at the extended profile. Why is extended profile important? Well, we find that sometimes it gives our families or our customers the opportunity to have a more enriched conversation with their children who are born as a result of sperm donation. It gives them more information to provide about their genetic origin. And this is quite important to some of our customers who do want to disclose to their children that they are born as a result of a sperm donation. So looking at how you can actually select the donors and what else we can provide you that might help you is that we're actually the only European Sperm Bank that do have adult photos of our donors. And the way this works, obviously because of GDPR, we have to put it behind a special wall. But these adult photos are available once you is behind a paid wall. Basically, you have access with one payment. You have access for 3 months. 3 months, and you will see 5 or 6 photos of our donors. These photos that are on the website, they've been taken by professional photographers to provide you as much information about the features of the donor as possible. We also have what you call, or what we call, exclusive donors. The exclusive donors, again, has been something that Cryos invested a lot of time and effort into finding out whether it's something that the patients would like. And basically, the way it is that you can choose a donor that has never been used for another family, and you exclusively purchase all the straws for that donor. So that donor is exclusively used just for your family to provide you with a child or future siblings that you wish to have. And again, there is a full information on that on our website, which you can view. So let's look at what are the legal and regulatory aspects of it. As mentioned previously, every country has got its own regulations with regards to donation. Even within Europe, under the EU legislation, still you find some variations from country to country. So these variations can be whether it is legally allowed to provide the sperm or not. Cryos sends the sperm to over donors to over 100 countries. So the countries that obviously we work with and you would like to receive a sperm, you must check the legality of receiving sperm donation in those countries. Some countries allow it, some countries allow it under a certain specification or rules. So therefore, patients or customers need to check that and verify that themselves. Donor identification is, again, another aspect that we've touched on, whether it can be anonymous, non-anonymous, ID release or non-ID release. Also, there are legislations about who can actually be treated. Some countries only allow heterosexual couples or married couples. Some do allow homosexual couples. Some allow singles. Some allow all of this. We at Cryos don't make a judgment. We're happy to provide donor sperm for everyone, but you must check with your where you're residing or where you're having your treatment to make sure that it's legally allowed. There are regulations about donation process, for example, who can be donors, what age range or what kind of a specification with regards to medical and mental background they need to have. The whole selection process can be kind of regulatory matters. The screening process can be regulatory matters. So there is a huge amount of regulations are involved, and hence why you see we call these standards. So countries that have very strict criteria about how they can receive and what they can receive, or what consent forms and documentations need to be signed, we call them as a standard. And you see that we meet all the standards that I've got the abbreviations down there. For example, Denmark, UK, Finland, Netherlands, Ireland, and so on. This means that there are donors that are meeting those standards, and you will see them all under their selection criteria. They have gone through everything that meets the standard of that particular country. So say, for example, you need to choose a donor and you are based in UK. What you need to do is on the website immediately put the filter on UK standard, and then you can guarantee that the donors that you're looking at are actually meeting the criteria for that donor sperm to be shipped to UK. Now, the other thing that there is some regulations in some country with regards to it is a pregnancy limit, or we call it quota reservation. So, for example, if we look at the example of UK has got a limit of 10 families, which means that the same donor can be used to provide children for 10 families. And of course, those 10 families can later on have siblings with the same donor. Spain, for example, might be 6 families, and other countries may have different limits. Usually, these pregnancy limits have been set according to the population, statistics, and so on. So you can imagine, as an international sperm bank, we have a great job at our hands to make sure that the pregnancy quotas of different countries that we work with are strictly controlled. The good news is we have a very good system and a great infrastructure in place where we monitor what from a specific donor, what samples, how many samples have gone out to where. And when we're getting close to those quotas, we will stop usage of that donor until we know the pregnancy results and the outcome. This is called a quota reservation. And what we suggest that for countries that do have this specific regulation, where you must not go over that pregnancy limit that is set by the country, that the patients actually purchase the quota reservation so that they can be guaranteed, no matter when their treatment is or how many straws they have bought, including for the sibling in the future, that they will always be able to use that same donor that they have wanted, and it's not going to be stopped due to the pregnancy quota. Again, I will touch base on that a bit further on as well. So let's have a look at what we can do here for you. Everything to do with what you would like to get from selecting a sperm donor. We try and make it as much personal to you as possible. So we are very proud to collaborate with many clinics across Europe and worldwide. As I said, we ship to over 100 countries, and in each country we collaborate with many IVF clinics. You can either choose your own desired clinic, or if you are in a country and you haven't chosen your clinic yet, we are happy to recommend the clinics that we already have an establishment working collaboration with them. You can choose between what type of straws you need. So if I quickly explain what is the difference, we produce straws that are ICI or IUI. ICI straws are unwashed and unprepared sperm. Some clinics prefer to use unwashed and unprepared sperm so that they can process it in their own IVF lab. These straws can be used for any treatment. It can be used for IUI, IVF, or ICSI, microinjection. The IUI straws are already washed and processed by us in Cryo's laboratory. So they are already prepared, and they come to the clinic as a prepared sample. And again, they can be used for IUI, IVF, or ICSI treatment. So it really is dependent on how your clinic suggests and recommends to you to purchase the straw. Customers have the option to choose the donor sample that they want according to the motility they need. So it's not a one standard motility for everyone. And perhaps maybe I need to explain what motility is. Basically, when we get the sperm sample, we look for live sperm that is swimming quite nicely. Those are the sperms that we need to make sure that we can provide a high standard sample. So motility is very important, as explained before, not only before freezing, but also after thawing it. So we have a very good system called CASA that actually automatically does the analysis for us, and it tells us what motility we have. Obviously, the higher motility, then the price range is different. So therefore, we make sure that we have got plenty of options available for our customers to be able to get the motility they need, and not particularly very high motility if they don't need it. So for example, if you have an IUI, you may want to use motility of 10, 20, or 30 plus. It really is dependent on the recommendation from your clinic as well. We have motilities from 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, and 30 million plus. And these are million per mil. And our straws are 0.5 mil. So that means if you purchase a motility of 10 million, per meal, then when it is thawed, you will have 5 million sperm because it's zero point 0.5 mil. So depending on what your doctor or your clinic suggests, we would be happy to help you and assist you with what you need to choose. So how to make the order continues by telling you how to actually make the order on the website. So I've been giving you a lot of background information so that when you go on the website and you need to make the choice and selection, you know how it will work. Now, physically, when you go on the website, there is a step-by-step information that takes you through on how to actually make the order and makes it very easy for our customers. And the guide is there to help you and assist you at every step of the way. So there will be lots of frequently asked questions at different steps, which you can click on and you can get your answers from there. It's up to you when you choose to have the shipping date, but the delivery date is also very dependent on where the sperm is actually being shipped. So what you need to bear in mind that even though we say deliveries take 1 to 2 business working days in Europe and maybe a bit more and longer within worldwide, depending where the sample is going, but please bear in mind that the selection process does take some time, especially if there is 2 of you making the selection. There is a lot of choices. As I said, we have over 1,000 samples available. You can filter through them according to your requirement. But what we suggest is when you start looking through the sperm donors you have, you can select favorites. So don't go for just one sperm donor. Maybe make 3 to 5 favorite donors for yourself, put them in the basket. And the reason is, if this process takes a bit long for you, at least you have some backup in case within that period of time a particular donor has been sold out, or for various reasons you decide that you need to have an alternative sperm donor. So make your favorite and make that list for yourself, and you can put it in a basket as your favorite. What you then need to do, obviously, you need to give yourself plenty of time and the clinic plenty of time, because some countries and some clinics require that they get all the paperwork and information from us first before they agree to a shipping date that they would receive it. And also you need to make sure that the clinic is ready to receive it. So therefore we say really give yourself around 4 weeks of time to try from the time you want to choose to the time that you get there. Of course, customer services will accommodate you with urgent shipments and urgent selection of donors. And luckily we have customer service that speak many languages. But my advice to you is please give yourself plenty of time. Now, what we get asked quite often nowadays, because of COVID-19, of course, is what is happening, what is the situation now? Well, the assurance I can give you is that you can still place an order, and we actually still deliver to most countries, because even though the borders of countries may be closed to people traveling, but the actual courier services are still working. As long as the IVF clinics you're receiving treatment are open, or at least are open to receive the sample, we can still do the shipment for you. If anything, I think this quieter time where in some country the clinics have been closed, maybe is a good time for you to think about it and order in advance. And what we have done is that because of this situation, we have actually made the reservations free of charge for 6 months, because we know some patients have reserved, but they cannot have shipment, or some patients would like to use this downtime to spend time, think about it more, look through the website and make their orders. But however, it might be the case that for the next few weeks, the clinics are not ready to receive it. For that reason, we have given our patients the chance to have it, reserved for 6 months free of charge. The other question that often comes up, and might be the question on some of your mind, is that you are worried that whether donor sperm may be infected by COVID-19 virus. Well, the good news is we have actually not produced or gone through the production of any donor sperm since the whole situation has started, because we have so many donors and we know we are not going to run out of any donors. We were probably one of the first banks that actually stopped production immediately. As soon as the health regulators announced the risk of what is going on, we stopped production, and it's been off production for quite a while. So we can guarantee you what you will receive is pre-corona or pre-COVID-19 sperm samples. And we are not still producing, even though IVF clinics are gradually opening. Denmark is gradually opening. We are still not producing until further notice, until we have established that we are quite confident about producing sperm samples post the situation with COVID-19. But don't worry, we've got so much sperm already frozen and so many choices available that we will not run out of choices or sperm samples that are available to be shipped. What we know so far is that, of course, COVID-19 is a respiratory virus, and it shouldn't be infecting the sperm sample. However, we are now in a process of investigating this further. Lots of countries are looking at this, and also Cryos is investing a lot of time investigating this as well. So we will only start production when we are quite confident that this is quite safe to do. Now, a lot of patients may just think about the situation that they are in right now and wanting to have a child, and that's perfectly fine. But what we always suggest to when you are talking to our customer service is that it's well that you're thinking about the donor that you want right now, but do think about ordering maybe more than one straw that you need for your treatment. The reason is, if you order only one straw for now, and then the treatment unfortunately may not work first time around, and it may work, in the next 2 or 3 treatments. When you come back to order that donor, we may not have that donor available anymore. So we do suggest that you do reserve your sample reservations. You will get 75% of your money back if you don't use them, as long as the straws are staying within the cryos tanks. If they leave our premises and they are delivered to a clinic, we cannot take them back anymore. But that is just for your treatment now. And hopefully once you have a child, you may want a sibling, and you may want to use the same donor for the sibling. So another reason to reserve the straws for yourself for future could be because you want to have the option of having the same donor for the future children, number 2 or number 3. So this is something to bear in mind. And again, go back to the point that, once you keep your straws at Cryos, you can always give them back and get 75% of refunds for the straws you've not used. So this brings me to the point that I just thought I highlight. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may hear it for the first time. But please do be aware of it, that there is a grey market out there. Unfortunately, there is a growing alternative of independent contractors that are making up online grey market of free sperm donors. Unfortunately, this is not regulated. It can be fresh donation in your house or sent to you or by other means, but it's very tricky. So do be careful that there are websites or unregulated sperm banks out there that can do this, and the sperm sample from donors may be free or much less costly than the authorized licensed sperm banks. Unfortunately, these are underground sperm banks and or private donors, and this could mean that they will not have had the screening that they should be having. So there is a risk of sexually transmitted diseases, genetic diseases that could be transferred, and of course the possibility of legal complications. You see, when a donor becomes a donor as priors, we agree with the donor that they have no parental rights, that under no circumstances they can contact any children. It is only, even if they are non-anonymous or ID release donor, it's only the child at the age of 18 that can contact the donor, not vice versa. But when you go to these underground establishments, unfortunately, there is legal complications that they may be able to actually seek paternity rights because there is no agreed contract there. And also be aware that some of these are donors that have been rejected by clinics or banks because they have not passed the rigorous physical and mental screening that we do as banks, as registered and licensed banks. If you're in Denmark and you would like to have a non-donation, we can arrange that for you. Unfortunately, we cannot do that across other countries in Europe because you physically have to be in Denmark to do it. But if there are patients that are listening to this talk, and you are in Denmark and you are keen to have a non-sperm donation, then please do get in touch with customer services. And lastly, but not least, as mentioned, our customer services provide information in many different languages. So feel free to contact them. Our website and blogs are all available in many different languages. We have a closed Facebook page called Family of Dreams, which is created by Cryos for our customers, and it is a closed group, and you can find a lot of information from them. And we also have a website that we are supporting, which has been created by Cryos. It's called All About Fertility. You can find a lot of information by many knowledgeable experts in this field, in the field of infertility and fertility. So therefore, you also have a choice to go there and find a lot of information from there. You can also see our presentations on YouTube. There is a lot of videos on our website that explains the different processes about being able to find a sperm donor, but also explains a lot of information about our donors, their motivations, and who they are. And I think this is it.
Excellent.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Lots of interesting information. So huge thanks for that. And now it will be time for your questions. There are already a few questions here. So, well, let's get to the questions right now. Okay. And let's start with the very first question here. Hello, I would like to know how important is the EQ profile in choosing a donor? Can it reveal important psychological or temperamental traits which could be transmitted to a future child? For example, is a score of 87 low or representative for some emotional issue which could reveal something else? Thank you.
Yes, the EQ is important and it's one of our criteria, but it's not the only determining factor. Yes, there will be scores that below a certain level that we may not accept them. Not only because of their emotional intelligence that can be passed on to the child, mostly to do also with how confident they are about their donation. You see, the well-being of our donors is just as important to us. We must make sure that they are emotionally stable enough to make the donation, to make the commitment and come through the process, and also the implications of what it is in the future. So that is why they have many interviews when they come in. It's not just the EQ test that we do on them, but many interviews with our staff to make sure and establish that they know the decision they're making, whether it is about donation, whether it's that they want to be an open ID donor or non-anonymous or anonymous donor. What happens in the future about their family? Will they inform their family that they have donated? Will they inform their future children? So there is a lot of elements that are involved with regards to the donors themselves. And it is very crucial and very important that we establish that our donors are confident in their donation.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your question and your answer to that. And there's actually another question in regards to the psychological test you see for results for. Is it possible for me to do that online so I can know more about myself in order to match a donor?
Great question. You can certainly, by clicking the button under the document, see the result of the EQ of the donor. If it's the extended profile, of course, not for the basic profile. So whether you can match it with yours, I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. I haven't come across that. But if you do an EQ yourself, whether it is matchable or not, that's something perhaps you can check with the center that you do the testing with, or with our customer services. I'm sure they can look into it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much once again. And the next question is, how do the donors decide which category of donor they want to go in? Non-ID or ID release also. Do non-ID release know that they could be contacted through genetic testing in the future, even if they may have hoped to remain anonymous?
Yes, excellent question. Yes. Yes, we do advise our donors. First of all, we provide counseling to them. We make sure that they understand what the implications are between different types of donation. As I explained, not just now, but for their future, when they have their own family, if they have their own family, how would they feel about it? And of course, with a lot of the genetic websites, like they can do DNA analysis of themselves and so on. It is possible to now trace the donors that were even the donors that were non-ID. And this is something we specifically talk to them about. We put it in our consent form. We ask them not to, if they want to be non-ID release donors, we ask them not to go to websites that would give that kind of information about their DNA. However, we also do warn them that nowadays it's so widely used around the world that even if they directly don't go and provide their DNA, some family member have, it may still be possible to trace them. So they are aware of this, and they're fully consulted on that as well.
Okay, thank you again for that explanation. What is the typical number of donor children that donors produce? I know some countries have family member number limits, but others don't. Does Cryos have any maximum number of families? How many half siblings can a child expect to have?
Sure. Yes. So beside the fact that each country has got it, some countries have their own pregnancy limits or quota or family limits, as they call it. As I explained, with some examples in UK, Spain, and so on. We also in Cryos keep a close eye on how many around the world. I mean, we ship to worldwide to over 100 countries, but still we try and make sure that we don't have more than 25 to 50 children around the world. So they will be scattered around the world, but we make sure that we would not go over that limit of between 25 and 50 for each donor.
Excellent. Thank you once again for that. Next question is that, do you allow or restrict the families from trying to find contacting half-siblings whilst their children are still young? I understand in the US it is usual to try to find half-siblings, even though the donor only known when child is 18.
Sure. As Cryos, we cannot stop anyone from doing what they have. We have a term of agreement with our customers, and we ask them not to try and trace the donor. But unfortunately, if the customers break that term of agreement, it's very difficult for us. We will not provide the information until the child reaches 18. And if the child has been born as a result of ID release donor, only then we will provide the information about the donor. But other than that, we strictly advise, recommend, but obviously we cannot stop, and we will not facilitate finding half siblings.
Okay, thank you again for that. And there's a follow-up. You have mentioned this already when it comes to the lacking of donors, but can you have a look? Are you experiencing a lack of donors during COVID-19? Will there be fewer donors to choose from?
No, not at all. Not at all. We've got over 1,000 donors and liters of sperm. So it's not going to run out. Don't worry about it. There's plenty of choice available.
Okay, excellent. Then there's a longer question right here. My husband and I have done 10 rounds of IVF, but one particular sample of 30 straws we'd like to use has the best quality. The clinic did infectious disease test 7 months before, but the clinics in the Ukraine we're thinking about using now don't accept any samples unless they have an accompanied reporter of no more than 2-3 months prior or after the sample was given. So my question is, can infectious disease tests be done on already frozen sperm? Who can do this in the US? Can a hospital or FDA do it?
I'm not so clear about the question asked, whether it's Ukraine, FDA, or, but I can explain to you how we do the testing. We do the testing, for the infectious diseases right at the beginning and throughout the whole donation, so that we know after the last donation and the quarantine period and so on, that the donor, within the time they have donated, have completely been cleared from any infectious diseases. And of course, because we have our US egg and sperm bank, we have FDA approved donors as well in US. It's, if you need FDA approved donors, then we can provide those as well. We can even provide the New York standard, which is a very, very strict standard. But whether a donor they have used before can be retested, I'm not sure where they would have got their sperm donor from, and they should definitely contact the clinic that they got the sperm from or the bank that they got from to check it.
Okay. Can you take a look? The patient just have added her husband's sperm, and if can infectious disease test be done on already frozen sperm?
Oh, this is her husband's sperm?
Yes.
Okay, that's thing. It depends where they are, which country they are, and how the regulation is. Whether a post-frozen sample can be tested for infectious diseases, and whether that would be acceptable or not. It could be different regulations in different countries. But if post-freezing the sample is they test the husband and is completely clear, then in some countries they may be able to use it. But again, that depends where they have done it, and I wouldn't know the details of every country and situation.
Of course.
Oh, you're in US. You're in US. Okay. By all means, get in touch. We have got our US customer services. Do get in touch with them, if you're based in Europe, get in touch with Denmark. Otherwise, you can get in touch with our Orlando, our US sperm and egg bank, and I'm sure they will be able to assist you with your query.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much again for explaining that. And remember, you can get in touch with Cryos and of course Sagar, so that they can help you out. You will be actually, after the webinar is finished, you will be transported to that website. You can ask your question right there as well, and it will be forwarded to Sagar and her team. I'm sure they will be able to provide you with more details as well. And next.
Yes, by all means. I think the presentation, at the end of the presentation, there is quite a few details on how you can get in touch with us. As I said, don't worry if you've got language barrier as well. We've got so many different languages that are spoken that I'm sure we can cover it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. And there's another question right here. When I filtered donors, it said country Cyprus. Does that include North Cyprus? And are you currently shipping also to North Cyprus?
We ship to many countries, yes, and I think shipping to North Cyprus, we already work with clinics there as well. I don't see an issue, but again, that's something I think customer service can give you more details about. So yes, it would be good for you to contact customer services. They can assist you with that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for this again. And the next question is, if the donors and sperm are screened so thoroughly, why would you recommend ICSI as one of the uses? My understanding is that ICSI is mainly used for male factor and fertility, and some are for the sperm, therefore not optimal for IUI or IVF uses. My experience has been a donor with low HPA and therefore failed IUI, and donor was not suitable for IVF. I had to resort to ICSI.
Sure, sure. We don't recommend ICSI. The clinics and the doctors, medical doctors, make that decision. And sometimes, because I am an embryologist, I can tell you this from my own experience. Sometimes the doctors decide on an ICSI even with donor sperm if they are, for example, worried about the thickness of the zona or the wall around the egg, or they have any concerns with regards to the binding between the sperm or the egg. Now, no one can predict if that would be the case. Now, we don't do HPA testing because it has not been part of WHO or an approved test that is agreed by all medics and embryologists that are working in this field. You can search many clinics that still don't agree with doing the HPA testing, especially for donors who have had pregnancies in the past from their donation. Is really not non-relevant. So, and also there is a huge disagreement on what level would you call normal HbA, which is binding between the sperm and the egg. Some put it very high at 95%. Some say no, 75% is fine. So because of these variations and because it hasn't really had a clinical proven use of HbA, we are not going to test our donors. So especially if they've had a pregnancy in the past.
Okay, thank you for explaining that to us. We do have another question coming up right here. Regarding the limit of families in the UK, I understand the limit is 10, but does that only apply to UK-based families? Can the same donor provide sperm for more families outside of the UK?
Yes, so for UK is 10, but the same donor can be used in other countries before it reaches the limit of that country. So yes, outside the UK, that donor is available, but for UK, the donor will be blocked as soon as it gets to the 10 family limits and will not be available.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much again for explaining that. There are like few questions left, so we will be slowly finishing. However, if you have any questions left, this is your final time for those questions. So go ahead and type them in the chat section. And next question is up. How is the limit of 25-50 children worldwide achieved? Does this mean 25 families who might have more than one child each, or up to 50?
So we are looking at around 25 families worldwide who will have some siblings. So we are saying 25 to 50 children. So hopefully, with the families that have reserved donors for their future siblings as well, we have some control. Don't forget that we keep the record of where the sperm has been shipped, and we will try and keep those pregnancy quotas as well. And of course, it's hugely important that our patients and customers come back to us and report their pregnancy after the first trimester, and also once they've had a successful, healthy baby delivered as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much again for that. Okay, and how about African sperm donors?
So we're lucky because we've got the two locations in US and in EU. And we do have some African donors. Probably you find them more on our US website. Denmark is very much Caucasian donors, but we do have, and if you look on our US website as well, you might be able to see some donors with more ethnicity background there as well.
Excellent. And anything on Asian donors? Those are quite hard to find very often.
Yeah.
But
So a lot of the donors, even if they are not from the same ethnicity, they could have the same phenotype or characteristics. So similar, like dark hair, dark skin, dark eyes, and so on. So you can always try and match according to that as well. So as well as looking at the ethnicity, you can look at the phenotypes as well.
okay, excellent. Thank you. Perhaps you can answer that. Which countries don't allow open donors?
I can't list them all for you, but for example, I know Spain doesn't allow open donors. Cyprus doesn't allow open donors. It has to be anonymous or non-ID release. So, I'm sure if you decide which country you are in that you want treatment, or which country you would like to travel to have your treatment, then we can help you in the customer services to tell you whether that country will accept open donors or not.
Follow-up question.
Sorry, North Cyprus or Greece?
When it comes to open,
I don't understand the question.
it's the follow-up question. So about
Oh,
open.
the follow-up question. I don't know about North Cyprus, to be honest with you. I think they allow both type of donation. I don't know. This is very specific, so I think it's better. I mean, I know Greece is anonymous, so.
Perfect. Thank you. And do you offer frozen oocytes as well?
Yes, we do. So our US egg bank provides the frozen oocytes. We're actually very successful in US with our frozen eggs because they have actually done greatly since 2015. When we opened the bank there, we've got 92% survival rate from our frozen eggs and 86% fertilization rate, over 75% pregnancy rate with our frozen oocytes. So it's a very good program that we are running there, and it's available as well for patients.
Okay, thank you very much again for that. And how about fresh?
Fresh oocytes? No, we don't. No, we are a sperm and egg bank, and as a bank, we freeze. We freeze the sperm and we freeze the oocytes, and then deliver to clinics, and clinics can do the treatment. So we're not a treatment center, so we cannot do a fresh oocyte.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And how many times are the egg donors allowed to donate?
This is, I don't know if we are now going off the subject for the sperm donation, but I think it depends. It depends four to six times, I think they will be allowed to donate. Depends on quality of the eggs they produce.
Yes, of course. And we will go back to sperm donation now, okay? May people from countries where sperm donation is illegal have a chance to donate sperm in another country?
People from countries where sperm donation is illegal have a chance to donate the sperm in another country. I guess if they have permission to be in that country, in the country that they're not, from, and they have visas or permissions to stay, then yes, they can donate if they wish to do. But they have to be at least some kind of residency and a long-term commitment to the program. They cannot just come in, donate, and leave because it is a long-term process. Needs a commitment for quite a few attendants to the sperm bank in order to be able to attend. So it's if it is illegal in their own home country, but they seem to be residents, students, or working in another country that allows the sperm donation, then by all means they go according to the regulation of that country.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much again. Just in the meantime, I have another question. It might be our last one, but if you have any left, just go ahead and you know what to do. Okay, how long typically is the sperm donor available for on your website? Do they sell out quickly or are there for some time? And if I like a donor who doesn't have many straws left, will there be more if I need more?
Okay, good question. It's difficult to say how long they stay on our website. It depends how popular they are or how many times they've come in to produce a sample. So some donors that we find that the quality of sperm is good and they over long term, they keep coming back and producing a sample. However, if a donor produces a sample for a period of time and then decides that they don't want to produce anymore, obviously we cannot guarantee that can come back and produce. So the best thing to do is to actually reserve a few straws, minimum 3, we would say, for each treatment. So you have one, but at least you have 2 backup for future treatments in case the first one doesn't work. But also you can freeze more than 3 if you wish, especially if you want to have a sibling and so on. We will give 75% of the money back and we can keep it for many years for you, so that's not a problem. With regards to if they come back and if they need more, we can provide it. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee because if we run out and we cannot get the donor to come back, that's it. They have to be willing to want to donate.
Oh, of course. Thank you again for explaining, providing us the details. It was our last question. So, huge thank you to all of you for all of the questions and of course for being patient with us and waiting. We have been able to go ahead with the IVF webinar. So I'm very happy. Well, Sagar, it has been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for all the details you have provided. So many interesting and useful information for sure for our patients as well. And well, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I just want to say thank you very much, and I'm so happy that we've had patients engaging with the talk and receiving lots of questions. And by all means, as you mentioned, please feel free to contact the customer services. They'll be more than happy to explain everything you need, recommend to you, assist you. So don't hesitate to contact. As I said, various ways channels you can contact us. But most importantly, please, everyone, stay safe until we get over this situation of COVID-19. Keep safe, keep healthy. Don't worry too much about your treatments. Hopefully, we will be able to catch up with everything in a few weeks' time. But we are available. We are open. We can ship any sperm samples you need that you buy from us as long as the clinics can receive it. So we are here for you guys.
Excellent. Thank you so much again. And those are the much earlier. Apologies, some of you have mentioned you are not hearing me properly. I am sure it will be fixed. I am really sorry about that. Remember, it has been recorded, so you will still have a chance to re-watch this IVF webinar on our website within the next few days. And again, huge thank you to all of you and for your questions. Well, I guess that will be it for tonight. So once again, let me remind you that you can find all of our events on our website, myivfanswers.com. And if you follow us on YouTube channel or Facebook page or Instagram, you will be up to date with all the um, upcoming events. And well, thank you. Have a lovely evening, Sagar. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
It
Thank
has
you
been a
very
pleasure
much.
to have you. Have a lovely evening, everyone, and bye.
Bye.
Bye.